Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Michael Bernstein on the line, and he's a founder of Bernstein. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it and can't wait to talk to you.
All right, Michael. So excited to get into today's topic. I mean, we're talking about sustainable pallet, which I once had someone on the show many, many years ago. I still remember it. He was in the pallet business and he was trying to recycle them. And but it's been a solid maybe 2-3 years, maybe more since I've had somebody in that niche on the show. So man, I love when I can get somebody back that's working in a niche, especially with what you're doing with solving a problem of sustainability. So I want to get into that. But before we do, I just want to talk about you as a founder. Were you always an inventor? Were you always a founder, like an entrepreneur, I should say? Like, where'd that begin for you?
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for quite a number of companies. The one that I would say might resonate with your listeners is I was the first person in the world to create a non-metal snap that could go on a IV patient gown and then withstand industrial laundering and go through an MRI machine where you'd think it's pretty easy to create something that isn't metal that could go through an MRI machine. But the problem was in industrial laundering, it needs to withstand 400 PSI on an extraction press. So we made a lot of them and sold a lot of them. So I've kind of walked in between apparel, which is where I will explain, and polymers previously.
Where do you find your inspiration for these? Is it like, I'm always curious with inventors. I had somebody who was like an inventor university or something like that. And he taught other inventors. And is it a moment of inspiration? Is it like something that goes in your head and you just can't get it out until how does your inspiration come? I'm so curious.
It's a great question, and I wish it was an easy answer for me.
I knew it wouldn't be, Michael, but
yeah. It's more that I see a problem and then I look for a solution, and you kind of hit on it. Once it gets into my head, it kind of spins around for a while, and I go down a rabbit hole, and it's a lot of that.
Better you than me.
Yes.
You can't get, and then so you're sleeping, you wake up, it's just in your mind. And then do you have many of these that are kind of happening simultaneously, or is it one that you fixate on? It's such an interesting process. I've always wanted to be an inventor, by the way. I've never come up with anything, but I'm like, one day I'm one of those people that were like, they see the as seen on TV since they're a kid, and they're like, I'm going to come up with something one day. So very novice, by the way. I've never made anything, but that's why I got so many questions on this. I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah, it's a strength and a weakness at the same time, so you're dead on.
So do you have many of these ideas kind of like happening at one time and different ones hitting different price, or do you kind of latch onto one and then that's the one for a long time for the big ones, or how does that piece work for you, personal process?
I think for the current invention, which is patent pending with Bernstein, I'm continuing to add to the patent. So you might call it refining the wheel, but I'm continuing to find other applications and where this product can be used. And yes, it's getting up in the middle of the night, writing down notes, and then communicating with my patent attorney and saying, let's add this, let's, structure it this way. And a lot of that.
Let's go further into Bernstein. So, I mean, first maybe educate the audience a bit on the problems of like pallet consumption and what that does to the environment. Maybe start there and then work further into like how you chose to help solve it.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with how it popped into my head. I was taking a tour of a craft beer company in Asheville, North Carolina, right before the storm, which was, devastating in itself. But going through, the tour guide was great and kept discussing how everything they do is green and environmental and that they do everything they can to recycle their products. And it was very interesting. And, they keep giving you beer along the way to taste. So by the time you're at the end, your head's spinning a little bit, first of all, from tasting all the beer. Okay. And then they're showing the packaging area. And I see that they're putting all their beer on virgin wooden pallets. And I just said, this makes no sense. Why it doesn't follow their story. There's so many ways that this could follow the story better. And that was the germ of the idea. So that's kind of where it started. And then me being in the apparel industry for almost 4 years, 40, I've seen a huge amount of problems in this industry. And one of the biggest ones that affects the world right now and contributes to climate change is apparel waste, cotton waste, textile waste, and it's exacerbated by a number of things, fast fashion, all kinds of things. And most of the time, all that can be done with this waste is it ends up getting buried or burned. So I realized that I could recycle apparel and cotton waste by merging it or blending it in a very complicated machine format and blend it with HDPE, which is high-density polyethylene, and create a completely new compound. And that compound can then be injection molded into pallets. Can be injection molded into other products as well. But pallets are, believe it or not, a sleepy industry, but it's a $66 billion industry. And 80% of pallets in the world are wood, and 20% are recycled HDPE. But my product is combining waste and HDPE and ends up being 3 times stronger, 20% stronger in tensile, and 10% lighter. And where it also makes a lot of sense right now is in the EU, which is demanding, by law, carbon footprint reductions. So if a company does not start to reduce it, they're going to start to face major fines. And just by using pallets that use my product, they can begin to achieve their carbon reductions, which are required.
Wow, it's quite a story. And when I think about like how that affects our environment, pallets, and for people that this is how it was explained to me, and I still remember this from years ago. The gentleman that the first time I heard that, like it affects how big the industry was and how much it affects, he was like, well, look around you in your room you're at. He said, every single thing that you're looking at came on a pallet. Every single thing, or the material that was used to make what you're looking at, every single thing came on a pallet, period. And I'm like, and I was like, well, when you put it like that, he's like on some form in the supply chain somewhere, whether it was the plastic, whatever it was, it came on a pallet. I'm like, okay, it's a big industry then, right?
And growing. And to the tagline, this is a truthful statement made by certain beer companies that they actually cut down almost a forest a day just to transit and ship all of their beer, which is troubling. And there are others, and I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Yeah. So how do you scale something like this? I'm not familiar with the pallet business from this side of things. The last man I had on the show that was in this part of the business, he was literally helping recycle old pallets so they weren't. But how do you scale something like this?
So the company has raised money and to create this product, and we are partnering with pallet manufacturers in the United States, one in the Czech Republic right now, and we're looking at others in Scandinavian countries. And believe it or not, the Scandinavian countries are probably the most progressive in this format. You wouldn't necessarily know, but a country like Norway, which is a huge oil and gas producer, actually has 90% of their cars on the roads that are electric.
Interesting.
So many of these countries in Europe are far ahead of other places in the world. Now that these footprint reduction laws are on the books, they need to find solutions which are not so easy. So I also joined the European American Chamber of Commerce, and they've been extremely helpful in connecting me with different organizations and groups. Earlier this week, I spoke with the U.S. representative for the entire port of Antwerp, which is the largest port in the world, which obviously uses a huge amount of pallets. And this is the way we're beginning to talk to people and get it to scale.
That's amazing. So what do you need right now? Like, what are you looking at? It's a startup. You're raising capital. Are you looking to raise more capital? Like what do you need to make this thing happen? Because I think it's a great cause that people should definitely get behind.
We're in our second round of fundraising. So yes, that's certainly something that I would put out there. And then I would just put out there that you can visit my website, which is bernastic.com, BERNASTIC, and communicate with us, email. And what we're trying to do is build an understanding. I think in the U.S., we are a little behind the EU on this, but the more this gets out, the more there'll be an understanding. And drawing a parallel just to something, another industry like fast fashion, where it's, let's say, a company like H&M or Zara, if they were to use my compound for their hangers in their stores, that could potentially achieve the carbon footprint reduction that they would need. So if you keep that in mind when you're going about, this could be a huge opportunity. And then the other thing that we're developing on a B2C business is we're making this product where it can be spooled via filament and made with 3D printers.
So yeah, another application. And so as you keep on, it sounds to me like this product you're going to keep on reiterating and finding new ways to put it in different sides of the supply chain and seeing how much of that carbon footprint you can offset. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to your question of
now
what
every
happens
time
in the
you
middle
go
of the
outside,
night.
and every time you go outside now, every time you see plastic, it must drive you crazy. You're in Zara, you're like, what's this hanger made out of? Let me check. No, you're that's awesome.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Even something like sitting in your car, your air vents. If you just sit in your car for a second and look about, there's a huge amount of plastic in your car.
I'm not going to look at plastic the same, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm over here like, what is this made out of? How come they're not using Bernastic?
Right.
That's awesome. Oh, what a great story. And I love that you're taking your talent for inventing and coming up with solutions and putting it to a problem, applying it to a problem that benefits us all, even if we don't know it benefits us all. So thank you for that. One more time, Michael, I want you to leave that website one more time. I want my audience to be able to go and check that out.
Sure. It's Bernastic, BERNASTIC.com.
Fantastic. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes, so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we bring you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Michael, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam.